Hi, my name is Rachel, and this is my story and his story. I grew up in a Christian home where the gospel of Jesus Christ was taught to me from a very young age. And so because of that, I can say with honesty that I do not remember a day where I did not know and love Jesus. And in the past, I've struggled with this part of my story, feeling like it was maybe boring, or maybe it lacked some sort of big transformational moment. But I've come to really cherish this part of my story for the grace and the gift that it is. And so when I think about my story and how God has been faithful to do a redemptive work in my life, I think about how he not only saved me from the penalty of my sin at a young age when I came to trust in his work that he did on the cross and in the resurrection, but I think about how he has also rescued me from the power of sin in my life today by the power of his Spirit. And so looking back on my life, because I grew up with such loving parents and a wonderful church and community surrounding me, it's almost like I grew up sheltered from the brokenness and sin of the world. And so for me, being surrounded by such seemingly perfection, I struggled inside what to do with my own brokenness and my own sin. And what that created was some unhealthy patterns and habits of striving towards perfection and approval, and then shame. Very much like the Galatians, when we read about the Galatians in the New Testament, having begun in the Spirit, I am tempted often to be perfected in the flesh. And that is a heavy burden to carry. But God, he has been so faithful time and time again to awaken my eyes to the true and better story, to remind me that this work that I strive towards has already been finished on the cross. And the ways that he has been faithful to do that in my life over the years is primarily just through his word. I'm reminded of how Moses says to the Israelites in the book of Deuteronomy. He says, "This word is not idle. It is your very life." And I have found that to be true for me, that I can come and abide with Jesus daily through reading the scriptures, receiving nourishment, being renewed in my mind, so that I'm awake to the true story, not falling into those traps the enemy would set for me. And so God has ministered to me greatly just through his word, also just through prayer. And this is something recently that I've been seeking to grow in and have found incredible freedom. And to being able just to have that conversation with God daily, to come to him in my weakness when I am tempted towards striving or shame, and just know that I can find help in my time of need. So God has been faithful to meet me through prayer, and then also just through his people. I've had individuals come alongside me in this journey and disciple me, teach me what it looks like to read my Bible, to have a prayer life, to share my faith. I would not be here today if it weren't for those faithful people. And also the local church, having those people week in and week out who see me, the real me, for who I am, who can speak into my life lovingly and encouragingly, sharpen me and build me up. And so it's still a journey for me. I'm far from perfect. I make mistakes every day. But I think about how when Jesus comes back, not only to rescue us from the penalty of our sin and the power of our sin, but the presence of sin, I wait for that day with longing, and I wait for that day with hope, knowing in confidence that he who began a good work in me will bring it until completion on the day of Jesus Christ, not because of anything good in me, but because of his goodness and grace in my life.